Sick millionaire begs female beggar for one last night with innocent girl at unexpected moment. Adrian Holt lay in a hospital bed that felt more like a prison than a refuge. The pale walls around him were too clean, too cold. His once grand life, the endless parties, the shimmering towers of glass and steel he'd built, now seemed like a distant dream, fading beneath the sterile glare of fluorescent lights. Tubes snaked into his arms. Machines whispered their monotonous hums, and every breath he took tasted of antiseptic and regret. His thin hands trembled as memories clawed at his mind. Dark secrets tied to his family's wicked past. Shadows that crushed his chest tighter with every heartbeat. No one came to visit. Despite the billions, Adrian felt utterly alone. The only sound beyond the droning machines was the rush of hospital carts and hushed whispers in sterile corridors far from his room. A $1,000,000 empire, but the richest man felt like a ghost. Then came Evelyn Smith. Evelyn listened when he spoke, not just with words, but with the haunted silences that spoke louder than any confession. Slowly, a fragile bridge formed between them. She helped him with small tasks, wiped the sweat from his brow, carried his pain without judgment. Yet beneath that kindness, a secret stirred, a truth darker than the shadows holding Adrian captive. One restless night, when the hum of machines was louder, Evelyn's face changed. Her usual calm cracked like thin ice. She revealed her hidden truth. She was the daughter of a man murdered years ago by none other than Adrian's father. Cold shock froze the room. The weight of history, of tragedy, wrapped around them both, suffocating and relentless. The past wasn't done with them. It seized control, pushing them into a battle of whispered grudges and raw wounds that wouldn't heal. And then came the shock that could change everything. Evelyn's voice broke as she confessed something no one expected. She was pregnant. Would this child be the fragile thread that stitched together their ruined families, or the spark that set off a wildfire of revenge? As if fate weren't cruel enough, a hidden will surfaced, secret pages written in fierce handwriting, weaving a tangled web of money, power, and control that threatened to rip them apart. Adrian's grasp on his crumbling empire slipped. Evelyn's quiet strength turned into standing ground. The ghosts of their fathers roared louder in the silence. In the cold night, with the hospital's distant echoes blending with their heavy hearts, Evelyn's voice trembled as she asked what neither dared to answer aloud. Can we truly escape the darkness of our past, or are we forever bound to repeat it? The question hung in the air like a weight neither could shake. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube has removed their subscriptions without warning. Just take a quick L. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. Evelyn's question hung in the air like a weight they both feared to lift. Can we truly escape the darkness of our past, or are we forever bound to repeat it? Adrian's heart thundered in his chest as his eyes searched hers, seeking an answer, seeking hope. But the room felt colder, the silence louder. Then, a loud crash echoed from the hallway. The sound sliced through their moment like a dagger, and Adrian's heart raced with adrenaline. He turned instinctively toward the door as it swung open to reveal a figure shrouded in shadows. The man entered, eyes sharp, face twisted in anger. It was Marcus, Adrian's estranged brother, a face he hadn't seen in years. "You're still breathing?" Marcus hissed, stepping closer, anger crackling in the air. Mother's not going to like this. Evelyn's eyes widened, shifting from surprise to alarm. You're Adrian's brother?" Marcus sneered, brushing past Evelyn as if she were insignificant. "Can you believe this? The prodigal son, rotting away in a hospital bed." His tone dripped with disdain, but there was something else lurking there, a hint of desperation. Adrian's pulse quickened. He had thought his brother was gone for good, swallowed up in the shadows of their toxic family. "Why are you here, Marcus?" Adrian managed, the tension thickening around them. "What do you want?" Marcus leaned in, his breath harsh. "To finish this game we've been playing. You think I'd let you take everything? You don't deserve it." Adrian's throat tightened. He could feel the specters of their past rising between them. "You don't know anything about me, about what I've become." "Oh, I know plenty," Marcus snapped. "Your fall from grace is poetic. But it's not over yet." A sudden commotion erupted outside the room, drawing their attention. The sound of shouting, frantic footsteps. Evelyn's face mirrored the confusion that gripped Adrian. "Adrian, we need to get out of here," she urged. But before they could move, the door burst open again. This time, it was a group of men, dressed sharply, faces cold and determined. Adrian recognized one of them. Men from his father's past, loyalists, the kind who'd do anything for power. "Adrian Holt," one of them called, voice booming. "You're needed." "What do you mean, needed?" Adrian's voice wavered, panic rising. I'm not in charge." Marcus stepped back, a grin forming on his lips. "Mother's will is far-reaching, dear brother, and it seems you've inherited a little more than just money." The men surged forward, their movements swift and calculated. "Your time in this hospital is over," the leader said, eyes hard. "We have a very important meeting to attend." "No!" Evelyn cried, reaching for Adrian. "You can't take him away." But before Adrian could respond, hands gripped his arms, pulling him from the bed. He looked back at Evelyn, fear blazing in her eyes. But then something shifted in her gaze, a flicker of something deeper than fear and anger. It was revelation, realization. "Adrian, the baby," she began tremulously, but her words halted as the men yanked him from the room. In the glare of the harsh hospital lights, the gravity of the situation loomed like a shadow over everything they had built. What had he inherited that went beyond wealth? What unforeseen ties linked them all? As Adrian was dragged away, he caught a glimpse of Evelyn, her expression transforming from shock to determination. The door swung shut behind him, and the echo of their past faded into an uncertain future, heavy with unanswered questions. Could he escape the grip of his family's legacy? Would Evelyn fight to find him again? Or was that baby already a pawn in a game he never wanted to play? The answers slipped away like smoke, and in that moment, he realized the game wasn't over. It had just begun. Adrian was pulled into the cold, sterile corridor, the fluorescent lights buzzing with an insistent hum. Panic rose like bile in his throat. The chaos of the hospital faded into the background, replaced by the pounding of his heart. "Let me go," he shouted, but they ignored him, dragging him down the hallway. The walls felt like they were closing in, suffocating, his mind racing. What did Marcus want? What had he inherited? As he struggled against their hold, a part of him cried out for Evelyn. Would she be okay? Did she understand what was happening? Then they stopped, halting in front of a heavy door marked conference room. The leader turned back to Adrian, eyes glinting like shards of glass. "You're about to find out who really owns your legacy." The door swung open, revealing a lavish but dim space. A long oak table dominated the room, surrounded by faces Adrian didn't recognize. His father's old associates, men from the shadows of his past. The air was thick with tension, the kind that cloaked the room like a fog. As the men settled into their seats, Adrian felt the weight of thousands of eyes on him. He shuddered, acutely aware of how fragile his power had become. "Welcome back, Adrian," one of them sneered. "Your family's empire needs a leader." "I'm not the leader anymore," he snapped, fervently wishing they could see the truth in his eyes. His life was in shambles. The thought of reclaiming anything seemed preposterous. But before he could process his despair, Marcus sauntered in, smirking, as if he'd just won a battle. The sight of him twisted Adrian's stomach into knots. "Mother's will plays a bigger role than you think," Marcus announced, surveying the room with a predatory gleam. "Enough games," Adrian shouted. "What do you want?" They exchanged glances, a silent communication weaving through them, tainted with secrets. Then one of the men leaned forward, voice low but sharp like a blade. "Your father left a hidden legacy, Adrian, one that goes beyond his life and yours. A secret that will change everything." "What are you talking about?" Adrian's voice trembled. "Your mother," he continued, "had a twin, and she's alive." Silence crashed over the room. Adrian felt the ground shift beneath him, the walls tilting dangerously. "What? That's impossible!" he gasped. But then the man pulled out an old photograph, yellowed with age, and placed it on the table. "Here she is, Adrian, your mother's twin. She's the key to unlocking the rest of your inheritance and the truth about your family." Adrian's heart raced, a mix of disbelief and shock flooding his senses. "Why didn't anyone tell me? Where is she?" "Hidden," Marcus chimed in, rubbing his hands together, the glee in his eyes sharp enough to cut. "And you, representing the Holt legacy now? You'll be the one sending her a real invitation, one she can't refuse." Adrian stumbled back, a crushing weight settling on his chest. His mind swirled with questions, confusion wrapping around him like chains. This can't be real. A sudden noise made him jump, a heavy gasp at the door. It swung open to reveal Evelyn, breathless, panic etched across her face. "Adrian," she gasped, but the room was too thick with tension, a melting pot of emotions teetering on a razor's edge. "Evelyn, stay back," he shouted, but she stepped forward, eyes wide, and locked onto the photograph, recognition flooding her gaze. "No, it can't be. This isn't just about you anymore. It's about me too," she cried. Adrian's heart pulled tight. "What do you mean?" "There's a reason I'm here. I found out just before I came to the hospital. My father. He wasn't just killed by your father. He was sent to find your mother's twin. She's my mother too. My real mother." The words hung in the air, sharp and heavy, shocking the room into silence. Adrian's mind raced. What did this mean? The threads of fate tangled tighter around them, binding their lives into an unbreakable knot. In that moment, everything shifted. Everything they thought they knew shattered, leaving only echoes of secrets waiting to explode. The game had changed, and neither of them knew what was coming next or how deep the conspiracy went. Adrian felt the floor tilt beneath him as Evelyn's words sank in, the room spinning with the revelation. "What do you mean, your mother too?" Panic gripped his chest, tightening like a vice. The remaining strangers exchanged glances, their looks murky with intrigue and suspicion, drawing the tension thick as fog. "Your mother had a twin, and my father had to find her," Evelyn explained, voice trembling, each word punctuated by the realization of their shared lineage. "That makes us connected. We're just one family tied together by tragedy." The men in the room pressed closer, buzzing with a mix of excitement. The air grew heavy with secrets begging to be shared, but Adrian's heart raced for a different reason. "Evelyn, this can't be. It can't be true." His hands shook. He felt unmoored, as if the ground beneath him was crumbling away. But before she could respond, a loud shriek erupted from the hall, cutting through their conversation. It sounded like a woman, terrified. Adrian's stomach dropped. "What was that?" he shouted, instincts roaring to life. But the men were already moving, heads turning toward the door. The door slammed open, and a security guard stumbled in, eyes wide with fear. "Everyone, there's a situation." His voice quivered, urgency brimming in every word. "They're evacuating the building. The hospital is on lockdown." "What? Why?" Adrian demanded, mind racing. Panic flared. Was this connected to him? To Evelyn? To their family secrets? "It's some kind of threat," the guard replied, shifting nervously. "A shooter. In the hospital. Everyone needs to remain calm and move to the back of the building." Adrian's mind spun with images. Chaos and gunfire, fear spreading like wildfire through the halls. How could they get out? Evelyn stepped forward, determination etched on her face. "Adrian, we can't stay here. We have to go." Before he could respond, Marcus shoved past him, a manic excitement dancing in his eyes. "This is our chance. We can make our move. Your precious legacy could be ours, Adrian." His voice oozed with madness, eyes glinting as he grabbed Adrian's arm, trying to pull him into the crowd of bursting bodies. "No." Adrian yanked his arm free. He couldn't pursue power or control. He needed to escape, to protect Evelyn and the life they hadn't even begun to build. "Wait, we need to find a way out." The guard's complexion paled. "We have to move. Now." Another crash resonated from down the hall. Shouts echoed, the sharp sound of a gunshot ringing out, sending everyone into a frenzy. Adrenaline surged through Adrian, and he grabbed Evelyn's hand, pulling her close. "We have to stick together." They turned toward the door, but the men from earlier had already begun to create a blockade, eyes sharp and eager. "You're not going anywhere without answering our questions," one barked, lurching forward. Adrian's mind raced. The door ahead was their only chance. "Fight or flight," he growled under his breath, and charged. The moment he surged past them, everything exploded into chaos. Evelyn, hot on his heels, stumbled, but managed to keep up. They slipped out of the room as another gunshot rang out, closer this time, metallic, jarring. The hallway swam before them, panic now fueling every decision. They turned the corner, but were met with more faces. Confusion and fear rippled through the crowd. Then, just as they thought they were escaping, a figure emerged from the throng, inches away. It was a woman, a stranger but familiar, with striking features and eyes that pierced through the chaos. A sense of recognition struck Adrian's core like lightning. "Adrian!" she cried, desperation woven through her voice. "I'm your mother's twin. I'm here to tell you the truth." Time froze. Silence fell thick, wrapping around them like a shroud. Everything they had believed collapsed in on itself. The pieces couldn't fit anymore. Who was this woman? What truth could she possibly hold that would change everything? Evelyn's face twisted in shock, anger bubbling like a volcano. "What? How can this be?" Adrian locked eyes with the woman, confusion swirling in his mind. The roar of the building fell away. Whatever legacy he had thought he owned was about to unravel, and the fear of the past shadowed their future, darker than ever. Adrian felt the world tilt again as the woman's words hung in the air. His gaze fixated on Evelyn, whose face twisted in disbelief and betrayal all at once. This revelation cracked the fragile bond they had just forged, stirring the depth of betrayal deeper than he thought possible. "Is it true?" he asked, voice barely above a whisper as an icy wave of dread washed over him. "Of course it's true," the woman insisted, stepping forward, urgency sparking in her eyes. "Your mother hid it for years. I was hidden away. I have proof. The will, it's all connected." Adrian's heart pounded. "Why now? Why come here?" "Because they'll come for you." She shot a glance behind them. "Your family isn't safe. None of us are." As if summoned by her words, another loud commotion surged from the hallway, this time more chaotic than before. Cries filled the air. Adrian turned his head, tension flooding his senses. He could feel it boiling over, something dark pushing closer. "Get down!" the security guard yelled, his voice fracturing the moment. Adrian dropped instinctively, pulling Evelyn down with him. But the armed men that had surrounded them dispersed in panic, retreating from the door as a figure burst into the room. It was Marcus, a wild glare in his eyes. "Stay back! Get away from him!" he shouted, pointing a gun toward the group. "Marcus, don't!" Adrian yelled, confusion overwhelming him. "What the hell is happening?" But Marcus's desperation cranked up the chaos. "I won't let anyone take what's mine." His finger twitched on the trigger, the weight of danger pressing on everyone in the room. Adrian's heart raced with fear for Evelyn, or for anyone. Then she moved. Evelyn sprang to her feet. "Marcus, stop!" Her voice rang out, sharp and terrified, slicing through the heavy air like glass. He froze, eyes torn. You don't understand. They're after the money and legacy." Adrian's mind spun as he glared at Marcus. "This is about more than money. You're endangering lives, you idiot." But just then, another figure emerged from the darkness, moving like a shadow, long and lean. Adrian's stomach dropped as the lights flickered, casting an ominous glow. The figure stepped into the light, and Adrian gasped. It was his mother, alive, but not as he remembered. Her face was pale and worn, eyes hollow and fierce. "Adrian, get away from them! They're lying, all of them!" The room erupted. Evelyn gasped, staggering backward in shock. "You're alive?" "Yes, but there's no time. They're impacting everything." "I'm not who you think I am," she cried, desperation lacing her voice. "You have to trust me. I regretted not being there, all of it." Just then, another gunshot rang out from the hallway, and chaos reignited. Panic boiled like a pot on the verge of exploding. Adrian lunged toward his mother, adrenaline pushing him forward against an approaching wave. "Mom, what do you mean? What are you hiding?" Suddenly, something exploded outside. A heavy thud shook the entire building. And the lights went dark, plunging them into darkness. Screams echoed, the panic fracturing into cries of terror. Adrian felt himself shoved into an unseen wall. "Get down!" His mother screamed again, her voice sharp through the chaos. But before he could process the moment, the world shifted. Reality twisted and folded. A tunnel opened in the floor, a dark hole gaping wide, threatening to swallow them all. "Jump!" A voice, Adrian couldn't tell who, shouted, urging them all toward it. Adrian hesitated, but Evelyn's eyes were blazing with determination near him. "It's our only chance, Adrian." But behind them, Marcus and the armed men were scrambling for position. The tension could snap like a wire, and in that blink, everything around them was poised to erupt. Deep breath. Without thinking, Adrian grabbed Evelyn's hand, and as they jumped into the unknown, something shifted within him. Everything he thought he knew, a mother, a family, a legacy, was spiraling away. It was all a mirage, a trap he never saw coming. As they fell into the abyss, darkness swallowed them, and in an instant, he feared they had not only escaped their oppressors, but also entered a realm where the truth remained hidden, and their destinies twisted together in ways he could never have imagined. What was waiting at the bottom? Would it be salvation, or a deeper snare of treachery? Clarity dimmed with every second as the ground rushed up to meet them, and Adrian wondered if there was any way back from this plunge into the depths of their haunting legacy. As Adrian and Evelyn tumbled into the darkness, the sensation of falling swallowed them whole. Time stretched as they spiraled down, fear amplifying every heartbeat. Adrian gripped Evelyn's hand tightly, their fingers intertwined like lifelines in the chaos. The world above was fading, their past lives blurring into shadows. Suddenly, the fall ended, not in a crash, but in a rush of softness. They landed on what felt like thick, rubbery mats. The air was cool and damp. Flickering overhead lights cast pale beams across old filing cabinets, and a massive steel door at the far end. The sudden stillness was a stark contrast to the chaos they had just escaped. "Are we safe?" Evelyn's voice trembled, her eyes wide with uncertainty. She looked around, and Adrian could see the worry etched on her face. "I think so," he managed, though the uncertainty bubbled within him. But just as hope flickered, the sound of hurried footsteps echoed near the door. "Hide!" he hissed, pulling Evelyn behind an old filing cabinet just in time. They crouched low, hearts pounding, breath hushed as the door swung open. In stepped a woman. It was her, a figure familiar yet distant, moving with a confidence that sent shivers down Adrian's spine. She paused, scanning the room, and Adrian's heart dropped as recognition washed over him. "Mother?" he whispered, disbelief flooding his mind. How was this possible? The woman who had vanished from his world now stood before him, undeniably real and alive. "Adrian," she said, her voice steady and cool. "You need to understand, it's all part of the plan." Plan? His thoughts raced, scrambling to comprehend the new reality. "What plan? You've been gone. I thought you were dead. Why did you leave?" A sharp breath escaped her. "I didn't leave willingly. I had to protect you. Both of you." "What do you mean, both of you?" Evelyn's accusation dripped with disbelief as she stepped from the shadows. "What have you done?" Before their mother could answer, the air shifted. A figure loomed behind her, Marcus, his grin twisted into something dark and desperate. "You really thought you could keep all this from me?" Adrian looked at Marcus, his chest tightening with frustration. "What's happening? Why are you here?" Marcus's eyes sparkled with a manic edge, a sense of victory radiating from him. "Everything you've known is built on lies. Your mother wasn't the only one with secrets." Then, with startling speed, he turned to their mother. "You have something I need, and I will do whatever it takes to get it." Just as adrenaline surged through Adrian, a deafening alarm suddenly blared, slicing through the air. The bunker's lights flashed red, and chaos erupted once more. Horrified, Adrian grasped for clarity as fear gripped him. "Run!" their mother yelled, panic igniting in her eyes. Evelyn grabbed Adrian's hand, dragging him toward a side door as Marcus shot forward. "You're not leaving!" he shouted, and Adrian felt the weight of betrayal wash over him. They burst through the side door, into a narrow corridor lined with flickering lights. Heart racing, Adrian glanced back, but what he saw shattered him. The woman he had always regarded as a ghost was now an enemy, entangled in Marcus's treachery. "Adrian, wait!" she cried, desperation lacing her words. But he couldn't stop. They sprinted down the corridor, racing against the sound of pursuit. They reached a fork. One way led to darkness, creeping shadows. The other to a glowing exit sign. "Choose!" Adrian shouted, the weight of their decisions crashing down. But Evelyn stopped, spinning around with a fierce expression. "Adrian, we can't just leave her." "Do you want to get caught?" In that moment, everything shifted again. From behind the door, light streamed through, illuminating the figure of another woman, this one strikingly similar and equally fierce, their mother's twin. "This was the plan," she said, voice steady as she stepped into the light, "to finally end this cycle of lies. This was the twist, the truth that struck harder than anything before." Adrenaline coursed through Adrian, jarring him. Was this all orchestrated? A game played by those who bore his blood? Determined, he grasped Evelyn's hand tighter. "We have to decide, now." And just like that, everything they believed hung in the balance. As the alarms blared louder and shadows danced behind them, Adrian wondered what he'd unleashed. Did they walk toward a way out, or deeper into a trap? Adrian stood frozen, caught in a tempest of emotions. The room pulsed with tension, walls vibrating as the alarm blared above them. Evelyn gripped his hand tighter, their fingers intertwined, like lifelines against the chaos swelling around them. The surface reality they had built shattered once again, splintered by the arrival of their mother and the relentless pursuit of Marcus. "Adrian, you have to trust me." Their mother insisted, desperation clawing at her voice. "There's so much you don't know," she pleaded, her eyes scanning the corridor anxiously. But Marcus interrupted, his voice filled with wild determination. "This family was built on deceit. Secrets are like poison." He pointed the gun, shaking, the fear bubbling within him making his threat even more dangerous. Evelyn stepped back, fear evident in her gaze. "You don't have to do this, Marcus. Please." Before anyone could react, the steel door slammed shut behind them with a deafening thud, trapping them in the bunker. Panic shot through Adrian like ice, the unexpected sound stealing his breath. They were stuck, caught in a web spun by family betrayal and revenge. "Stay back!" Marcus shouted, his voice faltering. Still, he took a step forward, eyes wild with desperation. "This is the end of it all." Suddenly, another figure emerged through the back shadows of the room, a tall man with tousled hair and a dark expression. Oh no, not like this. The haunting familiarity of his face drew Adrian's attention. "I won't let you hurt them anymore, Marcus." "Who are you?" Adrian shouted, the urgency boiling within him. The man stepped into the flickering lights. "I'm Robert, and I'm here to end this." Nightmare. With a swift motion, he revealed a device in his hand, a small red button that glowed ominously. "I have the means to erase everything, the secrets, the lies, the bloodshed. This ends tonight." Adrian's heart raced. "What do you mean, erase?" Robert's face twisted with a mix of anguish and resolve. "Your legacy. All of it. I can destroy it. No more suffering for anyone. But it means sacrificing my life," he said, eyes locked onto Marcus. "You'll be the one to decide, Marcus. The legacy or the truth." "No, you can't!" Marcus screamed, desperation clawing at his throat like a wild animal. "I refuse to let anyone meddle in this. You're all mine." Adrian watched in horror as Marcus lunged toward Robert, the gun raised, shaking with rage. It happened in a split second. A gunshot rang out, echoing through the bunker. Adrian flinched, heart leaping into his throat. Then silence. Robert crumpled to the floor, eyes wide with shock, the device slipping from his fingers, falling to the ground with a dull thud. "No!" Evelyn gasped, fear and disbelief erupting in her eyes. Marcus stood over Robert, his breath heavy and ragged. "You think this is over? You can't stop me. I'll have it all," he hollered, looking at their mother, then back at Adrian. Adrian's world spun. Everything changed in that moment, a deep, consuming realization clawing its way forward. Wait, Robert, was he? But before he could finish, the bunker's lights dimmed further, shadows creeping in, drawing them closer to uncertainty. The sirens wailed louder, drowning out the thumping in his chest. Panic surged anew, igniting the room. And then, as tension coiled tighter than a snake, the device clicked ominously. A voice echoed through hidden speakers. Final countdown initiated. Self-destruct sequence activated. Adrian's heart froze. The walls began to tremble, a low rumble vibrating underfoot. Everything he had known, everything he had fought for, was crumbling along with the secrets buried deep in this family grave. "What the hell did you do?" Adrian yelled at Marcus, who was now grinning like a madman, winning at whatever cost. He turned, racing for the door, which was now sealed tight under the emergency lockdown. Adrian's mind raced. Those were just words. This was insanity, and in this moment, he felt the cold hand of fate clutching at him. "Evelyn," he shouted, grabbing her hand. "We have to find a way out, now." But as they bolted toward the nearest exit, The weight of what had just happened loomed heavy. Was Robert truly the traitor he had seemed? Did he really have the power to erase all of it? Their escape was a mere flicker of hope in the shadow of an unspeakable truth. As they reached the door, the timer counted down. 3, 2. Adrian's heart pounded in his chest as he glanced back at their mother, the truth of their connection puncturing through everything. Was she hiding more than just her past? And with every second slipping away, was there even a way back? "Adrian!" Evelyn screamed. He lunged for the door in desperation, the countdown echoing behind him, the only constant in a storm of shifting realities. What awaited them beyond might bring freedom or a whole new beginning. But one thing was clear. In that bunker, nothing was as it seemed, and every truth was about to shatter like glass. Adrian felt the heavy grip of fear tightening around him as the countdown continued. 1 echoed through the bunker, each shout reverberating in the back of his mind. He couldn't shake the feeling that they were standing on the edge of something that could change everything. "Evelyn, we need to get out, now," Adrian urged, his voice strained with urgency as he tugged at her hand. Moments felt like hours, but then a low rumble pulsed through the floor, a tremor that sent vibrations crawling up his legs. Okay, let's go." "Shh," she said, her voice a frantic whisper. They sprinted toward the sealed door, adrenaline pounding in their ears. "Get out of my way," Marcus shouted, his voice filled with desperation as he pressed toward the door. But that panic quickly twisted into something darker. 5, 4, the voice echoed, the environment thick with tension. Adrian turned back, desperate to make sense of their twisted family dynamics. "You have no idea what you're doing," he shouted at Marcus, hoping the confrontation might somehow delay a tragedy. 3. But Marcus wasn't listening. He was past reason now. Just as Adrian glanced back at Evelyn, a flash of movement caught his eye. Robert's lifeless body on the ground, the device inches away from his outstretched hand. "The device!" Adrian shouted, a spark of hope igniting inside him. 2. In a split second, a flicker of movement caught his eye. Without thinking, he lunged toward Robert's body. But as he reached for the device, another explosion rocked the room, the force knocking Adrian off balance, sending him sprawling onto the cold floor. Everything went dark in a flash. "Adrian!" Evelyn cried out, her voice tinged with panic. But everything turned into a chaotic haze. Smoke filled the air, heavy and suffocating. He struggled to his knees, coughing. Amid the confusion, a shadow loomed near the door. It was their mother. Her previous expressions of desperation had twisted into something cold, calculating. "You're too late," she sneered, her voice laced with venom. Adrian froze, disbelief washing over him in waves. "What do you mean? Time's up!" She shot a glance at Marcus, who had taken cover. "It's always been about the legacy, and now you both are in the way." The sound of the sirens intensified, a chorus of chaos. Adrian scrambled to his feet, instincts screaming to push forward. "We need to leave," he urged Evelyn, glancing between his mother and Marcus, who stood together like vultures waiting to pounce. But then the floor beneath them began to shake, and at that moment, everything spiraled into sudden madness. Above the noise of the alarms and the tremors, a piercing scream echoed through the section of the bunker. It was a voice he recognized, Evelyn's. "Adrian, look out!" He turned in time to see their mother lunging. The shock slammed into him with brutal force, but there was more than fear in her eyes. There was insanity. Before he could react, she pulled a hidden weapon from her side, a knife glinting menacingly. "You've ruined everything! This ends now!" Adrian's heart raced, adrenaline flooding his veins. "No, you can't do this!" In that instant, life turned upside down as Evelyn hurled herself in front of him. The weight of it hit Adrian hard. Everything spiraled as time slowed. The blade sliced through the air. He heard the sickening thud of metal meeting flesh. Evelyn gasped, her body jolting forward. "Adrian," she whispered, shock spread across her features. Time stood still. Adrian's heart fractured into a million pieces. "No!" he cried, rushing toward her. Drops of crimson began to pool on the floor. "Evelyn, stay with me." Her eyes shimmered, glassy but fierce as she strove up to focus on him. I'm so sorry," she gasped. The world blurred around him, and for a moment he was lost in fear and disbelief. Everything he had known was shattering. The people he trusted were unveiled as foes. "Why?" Adrian shouted, his voice raw with emotion. But reality slammed back into focus as he looked up, heart racing. There was more chaos behind him. Marcus was grinning like a maniac, eyes wild with victory. "Welcome to our family's real legacy, brother." He laughed, the sinister glee painting his face. Adrian's heart pounded, anger roaring in his ears. "You're insane!" he spat. But beneath the rage, a seed of doubt began to fester. Was anyone really on his side? Just as the panic reached a boiling point, the ground trembled again, and the self-destruct countdown reached its final second. With one deafening crash, the room began to implode. Adrian's instincts kicked in. "We need to go. Now." But everything would change in ways he couldn't yet imagine. And as he scooped Evelyn into his arms, the weight of truth mingling with blood and betrayal, he realized, in that fleeting moment of despair, relationships forged in fire could fracture irrevocably. Was there a way back from this calamity? Would they still have a future after betrayal had become the family legacy? Doubts flooded him, but they had to escape, whatever it took. The final realization pressed down upon them like a crushing wave. Salvation may be just out of reach among the ruins of their lives. Adrian cradled Evelyn as they struggled to remain upright in the chaos. The alarms blared a sinister pulse, weaving a thread of desperation through the air. Mingling with the smoky say, he could feel Evelyn's breath becoming shallower, and each gasp twisted like a knife in his chest. "Stay with me," he urged, his voice a frantic hiss. "Adrian, Her words cracked, fighting through the shock as blood pooled beneath her. "I'll be okay, just—" An earth-shattering boom echoed through the bunker, sending tremors through his bones. The walls shook, dust raining down. "No!" he shouted, frantically clutching her shoulders. "You're not going anywhere. We need help." "Adrian!" His mother's voice was laced with urgency, snapping him to attention. Her piercing eyes, once a source of comfort, now radiated panic. "We have to move. The explosion will or has started." "But Evelyn!" His heart raced as he glanced back at her. The sight of her fragile form struggling against the pain sent a jolt of fear through him. "We can't stay." She was right. They were running out of time. Grabbing Evelyn's hand, he pulled her towards the side door marked "Emergency Exit." The clanging sirens morphed into an unbearable roar. And as they reached the door, something unthinkable happened. Marcus burst into the room, eyes wide, teeth gritted. "What have you done?" he screamed, leveling the gun toward their mother. But his finger hesitated on the trigger. "You think I won't shoot?" Adrian's world spun. "What are you talking about?" Before Marcus could reply, his mother yelled, "Get down!" Adrian threw himself and Evelyn to the ground as bullets ricocheted off the concrete walls, flinging debris into the air. The room erupted in chaos. The light flickered like a dying flame. Shadows danced. Then silence fell, a heavy blanket smothering the chaos. Adrian lay there, frozen on the ground, heart racing. And then he saw it, a figure moving slowly, silhouetted against the backdrop of destruction. It was Robert, but the glint of a weapon caught the corner of Adrian's eye. Wasn't he dead? Panic surged again, turning every instinct into a raw scream. "Robert?" His voice trembled, echoing in the silence as he pushed up from the floor. Suddenly, Robert raised the weapon. A shock coursed through Adrian. "This is all your fault," he shouted, pointing it at his mother. "You ruined everything." "No," Adrian's voice rang out, sharper than the gun. "What are you doing? We can work together." But Robert's expression twisted. "You think that's an option? Your mother has been manipulating you this whole time." Adrian's heart sank. "What do you mean? She hasn't been honest with you. The machine she wants to destroy, it's not just for the legacy. It's about control, about true power." The walls rumbled again. Dust fell like snow, swirling about them. Robert continued, "Your family hid darker secrets than you could imagine. You were nothing but a chess piece in her game." Adrian felt a cold coil tighten in his gut. That can't be true. But then a blinding flash erupted from the device on the ground, and Adrian stumbled back, thrown by an unseen force. The world spiraled, darkness swirling before his eyes. As the stars of confusion faded, clarity emerged. He squinted through the smoke, vision clearing to reveal something unfathomable, a shimmering portal rippling in the center of the room. "What the?" he whispered, breath hitching in his throat, pulse racing. The room began to collapse, pieces falling, yet that strange light pulsed with a seductive energy. "Adrian, don't!" Evelyn's voice pulled him back, but as he looked at her, he saw realization wash over her. That's an escape route, but it can change everything." Adrian locked eyes with her, the truth hanging heavy. "You mean?" Before he could comprehend, Marcus shouted, "We can't let them through. We have to stop them." Suddenly, chaos erupted again as figures poured into the room. Familiar faces, one after another. A tide of memories, friends, allies. Each one revealed the deeper connections, the lost truths of Adrian's life. They were all part of it. The room trembled, the rift pulsing faster, almost alive. Adrian's breath caught as laughter rang out, twisted and vile. "Welcome to your true inheritance," a voice sneered, and everything shifted. Adrian felt his entire world tumble as names and faces blurred into an incomprehensible mess of memories and betrayals. Was this all orchestrated? "Evelyn!" Adrian cried, but the portal flickered, splitting their lives into fragments. Would she follow him, or was this the end? Every feeling he held close cracked open, turning into unrelenting questions swirling in the void. The choice loomed before him as the past threatened to implode upon them. Could they escape? Or would this revelation shatter everything they knew to pieces? The future hung on the precipice of uncertainty, swirling into mysteries that beckoned with dark promises of truth. Adrian stared into the swirling light of the portal. Every fear and loss crowding his mind, the bunker around them trembled, dust floating in the air like ash. With Evelyn at his side, he could feel the urgency climbing higher, like a fire raging out of control. "We can't just give in," he shouted, gripping her hand tightly. "Then what do we do?" she gasped, struggling to stay upright as the floor shook again. The world around them felt like it was coming apart, pieces crashing down as Marcus paced menacingly nearby, the gun in his hand trembling with rage and fear. Adrian's heart pounded in his chest. He had to make a choice: stay and confront the twisted web of family secrets, or leap into the unknown. "We can't let him win," he shouted, adrenaline coursing through him. "We need to get to that portal. It's our only chance." Evelyn nodded, determination gleaming in her eyes. They turned as one toward the shimmering light, but Marcus shouted, "You think I'll just let you go? Not a chance." Adrian felt the heat of anger rising as he shouted, "Let us go! You can't stop this!" The sound of urgency in his voice echoed through the chaos. Suddenly, the room vibrated violently, and the walls trembled like the earth was shattering beneath them. "It's now or never," Adrian cried, dragging Evelyn toward the portal. He felt her strength waver but knew they couldn't give up. The sonic roar of the alarms faded into a haunting background hum. As they reached the edge of the portal, Adrian glanced back, hesitation clawing at him. "Mom, Marcus!" He didn't want to abandon them, but the instinct to survive screamed louder. "Jump!" Evelyn urged. Her voice pierced through the storm, pulling him closer to the shimmering light. They exchanged a last look, filled with the weight of everything they had done, everything they were. Then they leaped. The moment they crossed into the portal, it felt like slicing through fabric, time folding in on itself. Colors swirled around them, and they tumbled into an expanse of uncertainty, gripping each other as they fell. Suddenly, they landed hard on a lush green field under a bright sky. They gasped in surprise, the sensation jarring but exhilarating. The air was fresh here, nothing like the tainted confines of the bunker. They got up, hearts still racing, uncertainty shimmering in their eyes. "Where are we?" Evelyn murmured, taking in the untouched beauty around them. Adrian looked around, confusion mixed with hope. I don't know, but it feels different. It feels safe." Amidst the warm breeze, a flicker of laughter danced through the air. Adrian turned, his eyes widening as familiar faces emerged. Friends, allies, even faces long thought lost were gathered around them, smiling brightly. "You made it!" one of them cheered, arms wide open. For a moment, joy flooded through him. Maybe this was a new beginning, but doubt still lurked at the edges. He looked back where they came from, but the portal was closing, shimmering before vanishing completely. It was gone. Evelyn stepped closer to Adrian. What if our past, I don't know, he admitted, the shadows of uncertainty creeping back in. But in that moment, he realized something vital. What mattered was now, and the people around him. They would face whatever came next together. Then, in the distance, he saw someone emerge, a figure cloaked in shadow and mystery. The air shifted, and uncertainty bubbled again. "There will always be consequences," the figure said, voice echoing ominously. "This is just the start of a greater legacy." Adrian's heart raced as he felt the weight of truth hanging over him. Their journey wasn't over. It was shifting into something new, a path filled with both trepidation and hope. What awaited them in this new reality? The answer lingered, tantalizingly out of reach. Before this moment fades from your memory, you must subscribe now to ensure you don't miss any of the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button to show your support and help with the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your thoughts and theories about this explosive ending. And don't wait one more second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to hear about this journey. Your support is what